Hey, welcome back. I got a question for you. Can you spot what's wrong with this Chinese greeting? I will give you 3 seconds. If you're a native Chinese speaker or you speak very good Chinese, you probably cringe a little bit. If you're learning Chinese, you might think it looks perfectly fine. And that's exactly the problem I'm going to solve today. So here's what happened. My friend who's been learning Chinese for a while was trying to make small talk. He wanted to ask someone how they were doing. So he said, 你的健康好吗?你的健康好吗? Which literally translates to, is your health good? The receiver of the greeting looked confused, slightly amused, and probably wondered if my friend was actually trying to sell them health insurance. Because here's the thing, no native Chinese speaker would ever say it like that. And it's not just about the words. It's about two completely different reasons that perfectly show how Chinese and English brains work differently. Reason number 1. In Chinese, when we ask or talk about health, we don't use the direct translate health. We use body, 身体. 身体. Health, 健康. That's much more intangible and vague idea about your well-being and your health in general. But why? Think about it. When Chinese people talk about health and well-being, we are super practical. We say, 早睡早起身体好. We also say, 骑自行车对身体好. Check out the slow Chinese conversation video to practice on these. In Chinese, we never say 对健康好. It's like, imagine if someone asks you, how is your wellness? Instead of, how are you? Technically correct, weirdly formal, definitely not normal. Chinese thinks in concrete terms. 身体. 身体 is something you can touch, see, feel. It gets tired, it gets sick, it gets better. Health? That's an abstract concept floating somewhere in the theoretical realm. Chinese really practical. We talk about the actual meat vehicle that carries it around, not abstract concepts. But here's reason number 2 why this sentence sounds so wrong. And this one's even more important. In Chinese, a question is a question. Full stop. No exceptions. If you ask it, you better be ready for an answer. In English, when you say how are you, it isn't really a question. It's just a fancy way of saying, hello, I acknowledge your existence. Nobody expects you to actually tell them how you are. But in Chinese, oh boy, different story entirely. Ask, 你的健康好吗? And the Chinese person thinks, why is this person asking about my health specifically? Do I look sick? Should I tell them about my back pain? Are they a doctor? Are they trying to sell me something? Okay, let me paint you a picture of how these cultural differences play out. In English, how are you? Fine. Everyone moves on with their life. What's up? Not much. Nobody actually wanted to know what's up. How's it going? Good. It could be terrible. Nobody cares. But in Chinese, ask, 吃了吗? They will tell you exactly what they ate, maybe even show you photos. Ask, 去哪儿? Get ready to get their complete itinerary. Ask, 最近怎么样? Buckle up for a 10 minutes life update. This is crucial. In Chinese, if you ask a question, you're starting a real conversation. If you don't want to know, don't ask. It is like difference between knocking on someone's door to say hi versus knocking and then walking away. In Chinese, once you knock, you better be prepared to enter. Okay, so we had some fun with my friends 你的健康好吗? mistake. But let's be fair, he was actually trying really hard. Chinese small talk is generally tricky. And he got caught in some classic traps that everyone falls into when learning Chinese. So instead of just laughing at his Google Translate moment, let's actually help him, and maybe you, to master the art of Chinese small talk. Maybe once you understand the logic, it's actually quite simple. By the end of the video, you will learn quick greetings when you're in a hurry, natural ways to start a real conversation, what to say to different people, kids or elders. Let's start with the most practical stuff first. The basic greetings. First we have morning greetings. 早 早 morning. Think about this, it's more like a rising tone, like you're asking a question. 早 早. Next we have how are you recently? 最近怎么样? 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 Break it down. 最近 means recently. 最近最 means most. 近 means near. 最近 is most near, sort of means recently. 怎么样 怎么样 means how's it. 最近怎么样? Then we have a classic but a strange one. Have you eaten? 吃了吗? 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 吃 means eat. 了 means it's a completed action. 吗 is a question particle. This is the classic Chinese greeting. Then moving on with how to say hi without the commitment. So what if you're in a hurry? Here's your Chinese greeting survival kit. First we have quick acknowledgement. 早. Or you can say it very quick like 早. Perfect for passing coworkers. Remember to finish this 早 with a little bit uptone. Then we have the pre-exit. 先走了. 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 This literally means gotta go first. So it means gotta go. 先走了. That's actually quite friendly and polite, but also means that you cannot start a conversation. And then finally, a simple nod. A simple nod with hey, hi. Always work for a quick acknowledgement. Remember, these are acknowledgements, not conversation starters. Perfect when you just want to be friendly but efficient. But wait, you might say, how about 你好? 你好. Can I just say hello like a normal person? Sure, you can say 你好 or 您好. 你好 is perfect for meeting someone for the first time, customer service situation, or when you're trying to be extra polite. But between friends, it's like wearing a tuxedo to a barbecue. You're not wrong, you're just... Here's another mind bender. Chinese greetings are time travelers. We don't care about now. We care about the journey. In English, we say, how are you? This is the exact moment in Chinese when you can say, 最近怎么样? 最近怎么样? Here are a few examples that if you really want to start a conversation. Following with the same style, we have 最近忙吗? 最近忙吗? 忙 means busy. And 吗 a question particle. 最近忙吗? Being busy lately. And when asking about health, 最近身体怎么样? 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 That means you want to check with someone how are they feeling recently health-wise. This is actually not super formal. Remember, this is not checking your current status. We're asking about your life's recent chapter. Let's look at some real conversation example. 最近怎么样？还不错，就是工作有点多。最近怎么样？ How have you been recently? 还不错。Not bad. 就是工作有点多，就是 just a bit. 工作 work 有点多 a bit too much. 还不错，就是工作有点多。Let's look at the next one. 最近忙吗？最近忙吗？ Typical responses are 还行吧，还行吧。It's alright. 还行吧。不太忙，不太忙。Not too busy. Another one that is quite common people will say is 忙死了，忙死了。Sometimes I realize in Chinese conversation, especially the informal one, people use 死了, which means death. Quite common. So this whole sentence, 忙死了, means that you were too busy to death. But it doesn't really sound so bad. It just means that you have been really busy. I think we need to talk about it some other time, how we use this term, because this is so commonly used. Next, we have what I called the observation game. You basically observe and comment. Noticing someone's haircut, you can say 剪头发了，剪头发了，剪头发了。Got a haircut. Notice that we don't use ma here. Sometimes you can also use le in the end as you raise a question. This sentence means got a haircut. 剪头发了。Remember that you raise your tone since you are asking a question here. And you can respond that by 对，昨天刚剪的。对 means yes. 昨天 yesterday. 昨天刚剪的，刚 just 剪 cut. 对，昨天刚剪的。Yes, got it yesterday. And then you can respond back by 挺好看的，挺好看的，挺好看的。Look nice. Let's look at another example. When you seeing someone in workout clothes. 去运动啊，去运动啊。Notice here that we are asking a question, but we don't have ma or le. So in Chinese, basically, as long as you're raising your tone, you're asking a question. Let's listen and practice again. 去运动啊，去运动啊。Going to exercise. And you can reply by 是啊，去跑步。是啊，去跑步。We add the here in the question and also in the answer to make the conversation more natural. So you sound less like a robot. It's basically like filler words here, but in a way to make the sentence longer and more natural. And you can respond again by another compliment if you want. 这么早就起来了，厉害。 这么早 So early 就起来了 Up so early 厉害 Impressive This is a very common term to use when you want to give someone compliment 厉害 Impressive 厉害 Let's do the whole conversation again 剪头发了对昨天刚剪的挺好看的去运动啊是啊去跑步这么早就起来了厉害 With kids, your textbook says to ask about homework. Please don't be that person. Kids hate homework questions as much in Chinese as they do in English. Instead, try 今天开心吗？今天开心吗？今天 today 开心 means happy. Happy today? That's a really good greeting starter for a kid. With elderly people, don't interrogate them about health like you're their doctor. I have a formula that you should use. First, you find a respectful term for them. Then, you observe what they have been doing and throw a question. So there are two respectful terms that you can use, usually don't go wrong. One is 阿姨, 阿姨, and the other one is 叔叔. 叔叔 阿姨 literally translate to aunt. 叔叔 means uncle. But you use these terms even when you're not biologically related. They're just respectful terms to call elderly. And of course there are some other terms, but if when you call someone they don't think they're that elder, they might get offended. So I think it's best to start with 阿姨 and 叔叔. And then you start with a observation. Maybe they're taking a walk. So you can say something like 王阿姨您出来散步啊王阿姨您出来散步啊王阿姨 Auntie Wang. Here we use 您 instead of 你 to be more respectful. 您出来散步啊出来 out 散步 a walk 出来散步 out for a walk 王阿姨您出来散步啊 So why do Chinese greeting work this way? It all comes back to culture values. Chinese culture is relationship focused. Every greeting is a mini relationship checking. We're not just acknowledging your existence. We are acknowledging your life journey, your activities, your changes. The time element shows how relationships as ongoing stories, not isolated moments. When we ask, 最近怎么样? We are saying, I have been thinking about your life since we last met. The observation-based greeting shows you're paying attention. When you notice that someone got a haircut or someone's carrying groceries, you're saying, I see you, I noticed you, you matter. And the fact that questions are real questions, that's about being sincere and maybe a little bit direct. If you ask, you generally want to know. If you don't have time to listen, then don't ask. Okay, now it's the quiz time. You see your neighbor in the morning, but you have already late for work. Do you A. Ask 吃了吗? B. Just nod and say 早 C. Ask 你的健康好吗? The answer is B, because A starts a conversation you don't properly finish. And C, well, now you know that's not natural Chinese at all. Next test. You meet a Chinese friend after 3 months. Which greeting is the most natural? A. 你好，很高兴见到你。B. 你的身体健康吗？ C. 好久不见，最近怎么样？ The answer is C. It acknowledged the time gap and asked for a real update. Option A sounds like you are meeting for the first time, and B, maybe you recently started a career for selling health insurance. Maybe that could work actually. Okay, I guess you nailed it. Every Chinese greeting is an opportunity to show you notice and care about someone's life journey, not just their current moment. Remember, questions are real questions. Time matters. Observations matter. If you don't want a conversation, don't ask a question. It's not being rude, it's being considerate. You're respecting both your time and theirs. So next time someone asks you, 吃了吗? 吃了吗? Remember, they're not really asking about food. They're saying, I care about your well-being. And now you know exactly how to respond, whether you have time to chat or not. Thanks for watching. 下次见.